r/AskReddit. Nurses of psych wards, what did a patient do that left you speechless? This was actually in a state hospital that is part of the prison system for mentally ill offenders. Patient asked for Vaseline, which is fine. They can have Vaseline, whatever. But this patient was given a whole tub, so of course he stripped completely naked, covered himself in Vaseline, and ran. It was a secure unit, and he didn't escape, but we couldn't get him back into his cell all shift, because he was too slippery. No more tubs. I worked in adult foster care for several years. There was a severely autistic guy who would come to us now and then and say Vaseline. At which point we'd give him a med cup with a little bit of Vaseline that he'd take to his room to jerk off with. I was told this practice became necessary to keep him from picking his butt for alternative forms of lubrication. I was also strongly cautioned against giving him too much of the stuff. Apparently the practice had originally been to give him a full med cup of the stuff, but at some point a coworker accidentally walked in and discovered the client propped upside down in the corner, somehow having succeeded in sticking his entire forearm up his own ass. He fisted himself. I was told this practice became necessary to keep him from picking his butt for alternative forms of lubrication. Really wish I hadn't read that. This might not fit perfect, but I love this story. How about in an inpatient addiction clinic? The first one that comes to mind was something I witnessed between a patient and another floor tech. We had a man who was in serious detox. Drug of choice was meth. He was throwing a huge tantrum, not uncommon in DTs. People will do just about anything to get a fix. We weren't a locked facility, so it wasn't like he was stuck there. He genuinely wanted help, that's why he stuck around, and we were there to listen and help him through the shakes, hallucinations, and other symptoms. He was slamming his fists on the desk at this point, and he had started just yelling, "I just want something ice." Slang for crystal meth. Well, the tech with me was inexperienced, although much older than me, and while I talked to him and tried to calm him down, she went back to our staff kitchen and got him a glass of ice. Like frozen water. She brought it out to him and put it in his hand like problem solved, and the guys just froze with confusion, staring at it. The patient and I both realized at the same time she thought he wanted ice, and we just started at each other and started laughing. He was in for a rough couple of days, but I've never seen someone jump from near psychotic episode to giggling so fast. Years ago, I was a student nurse doing my psych rotation in a Catholic facility. The nuns still wore habits and the building was like something out of the Dark Ages. I'll skip talking about the line of patients waiting to undergo ECT treatment in the basement and instead tell you about Maggie. She was a tragic case. She had been on lithium for years, and it really kept her psychotic episodes in check until reached toxic levels and could no longer take it. One hot summer afternoon, we heard this banshee screaming coming from Maggie's room. We rushed in there to see what was going on. Entering the room, we are greeted by a scene I will never forget. This late 70s woman is standing on the window ledge, naked as a jaybird, screaming through the window screens at the nuns in the courtyard. "You effing penguins are going to burn in hell." The poor sisters are scrambling to and fro trying to get away from the ranting madwoman's viscous verbal assault as we were trying desperately to pull her off the grating. I knew then and there that I would never become a psych nurse. We had a psych patient on our floor that wasn't really crazy, just really confused and unpleasant in general. One night I was mixing his drink with some thickener, and per usual he started yelling about me poisoning him. I explained what it was, and that we are all here to help him, not hurt him, and he responds with, "I'm just going to die." His vitals were fine, he was alert, no red flags, and like I said, he was always pretty unpleasant, so I didn't think much of it. Sure as it, he coded an hour later, and we never got him back. Edit. Coded is slang for code blue, which is what they call over intercom/pages when someone stopped breathing or their heart has stopped. My man said peace out and effing faded. The commitment of the lad. Hey there dear watcher/listener. I wanted to take a moment to thank you for watching this video. If you're enjoying what I'm doing here and wanna see more like this, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow a lot, and I'm hoping to do this more. Thank you. Now back to the video. I was a CNA for about 4 years, and the saddest ever was my client/resident constantly thought I was her daughter. She went to Harvard and was an extremely brilliant lady in her time. She was non-verbal, but every time I walked into her room she would exclaim, "Elizabeth, you came." I loved this lady so much. She would only eat when I fed her. She was extremely combative with everyone but me. I ended up quitting my job there, but visited her every single day. To the point that her family kind of accepted me as their family. I finally found out that Elizabeth took her own life at 21, and the fact that she thought I was her gave her extreme joy. I never corrected her, and I like to think I gave her peace when she passed holding my hand. She was an amazing lady, and I miss her to this day. Obligatory not me, but my former best friend told me the story. She wasn't a nurse, but did an internship at a psych ward for adults, and part of her internship was supervising the adults outside in the garden, making sure they didn't harm themselves, others, and or run away, and to talk to them. She and about 5 patients were outside on a beautiful summer day, each relaxing and smoking in silence, basically just chilling, like fully functioning adults. Until one woman, about early 70s, no Alzheimer's or something, took her chair, pulled it right next to my friend, stepped on it, clumsily climbed the stone wall surrounding the small outside area, yelled "bye, itches," and ran away. My friend and the others just sat there, staring after her, not being able to believe what they'd just seen. She was found 15 minutes later, just wandering through the city looking for booze. I just can't not laugh at the thought of this granny climbing the wall and yelling "bye, itches" while fastly waddling away. And now, I finally have plans for my retirement. I'm not a nurse, but was a patient once. Giant dude got upset one dude changed the channel from a football game he was watching and smashed his skull with his fists. Not fully, but enough that when they brought him back a few days later he started seizing and had to be removed again. Didn't see him again. Also, there was one lady who was straight out of the movies, walking around preaching the end of days loudly and sweating like crazy. I was a patient around a giant dude as well. The guy had an outburst, but afterwards ended up being drugged to the point of needing the walls to help him walk, and a towel to wipe his drool. That scared me more than the giant dude himself. It felt like a movie, where once you go in they never let you out. Not me, but my dad used to work in Arrowdale and J Ward, Australian insane asylum and prison for the criminally insane, respectively, in the 70s. He used to talk about sunny days in J Ward where they'd bring out all the inmates during a sunny day and they'd promptly line up and start jacking off. In Arrowdale they'd deal with the jacking off problem by strapping you into cotton mittens, but a lot of the inmates would chew a hole through them just to get a finger out to jack off with. His worst story was about a psychotic woman in Arrowdale. She had self-inflicted scars all over her face from scratching herself, self-imposed bite marks all over her body from trying to eat herself, and she had the nasty habit of chewing the inside of her mouth and spitting blood at your eyes and mouth hoping you'd catch one of the myriad of diseases she carried. Not me, but a friend is a behavioral consultant for a psyche ward and once told me a story about a patient that casually approached another patient and proceeded to pin him against the wall and bite his eyelid off. Was interviewing a guy in psych ward and he was complaining about how he couldn't have any whiteout, a liquid eraser for typewriters because he was on suicide watch. Claimed it was stupid because if he wanted to kill himself, as he pointed out, he could use the drawstring from the blinds to hang himself, or he could use his pencil to stab himself, or use a typewriter metal bar to off himself. I agreed it was silly to hold back the small bottle of liquid whiteout. When I relayed the convo to my instructor about how silly it seemed due to him having several other ways, she replied that he proved to me that he had been considering ways to kill himself, and that's why he was able to come up with so many so quickly. He never did get his whiteout.